The flickering glow of candlelight danced along the cold stone walls, casting long, twisting shadows that seemed almost alive. The air was thick with the scent of wax and wine, mingled with the faintest trace of something more ancient, something forbidden. Beneath the vaulted ceilings of Medmenham Abbey, men in monks' robes gathered around an altar, goblets in hand, laughter echoing through the darkness. A woman's voice, commanding, captivating, intoned a mock blessing. A toast was raised, not to God, but to something far darker. Deep beneath the English countryside, in the labyrinthine tunnels known as the Hellfire Caves, this secret society thrived. The Hellfire Club, as it was infamously known, was no ordinary gathering of aristocrats. It was a place where the powerful and the privileged indulged in excess, where mockery of religion met whispers of the occult, and where Britain's elite could engage in pleasures and plots hidden from the prying eyes of the outside world. For centuries, rumours have swirled around the Hellfire Club. Tales of black masses, secret initiations, and even human sacrifice. Was it simply a decadent drinking society? A place for influential men to cast off the constraints of their public lives? Or was there something more sinister lurking in the shadows? This is the story of the Hellfire Club, a dark, secret society of Satanism and sexual debauchery. The roots of the Hellfire Club stretch back to the early 18th century, a time when Britain was teetering between religious tradition and the libertine ideals of the Enlightenment. At the heart of this tension stood Philip Wharton, a man of contradictions, a nobleman, a politician, and a scandalous rake who delighted in defying social conventions. In 1719, Wharton founded what is believed to be the first Hellfire Club, a secret society shrouded in blasphemy and irreverence. Unlike other elite clubs of the era, which focused on political discourse or intellectual debate, Wharton's gathering seemed intent on one thing: mocking the very institutions that governed society, particularly the church. Meetings were rumoured to take place in darkened rooms, where men of wealth and influence dressed in satanic garb and engaged in theatrical parodies of Christian rituals. They allegedly toasted to the devil, held mock Eucharists, and even referred to each other as devils and demons. The group's very existence was an open act of defiance, a challenge to the moral and religious order of the time. But Wharton's club was more than just an exercise in sacrilegious revelry. It was a statement. Britain's aristocracy, long bound by the constraints of social decorum and Anglican orthodoxy, was beginning to push back. The Hellfire Club represented a rebellion, a rejection of the idea that power must be coupled with piety. The scandal did not go unnoticed. By 1721, King George I and the British government, alarmed by the rumours surrounding the club's activities, ordered its dissolution. Wharton, ever the opportunist, moved on to other political ventures, but the idea of the Hellfire Club refused to die. Instead, it took on a life of its own, evolving into something far darker and more infamous in the hands of Sir Francis Dashwood. What had begun as a sacrilegious gentleman's society was about to transform into something even more mysterious. An underground brotherhood where power, secrecy, and the occult intertwined. If Philip Wharton's Hellfire Club had been a rebellious act of aristocratic defiance, Sir Francis Dashwood's incarnation was something altogether more elaborate, more decadent, more secretive, and, some say, more sinister. Born in 1708, Dashwood was the perfect architect for such a society. A privileged aristocrat, traveller, and politician, he was a man of refined tastes, deeply interested in classical antiquity, the occult, and the excesses of the past. But he was also a skilled satirist. His sense of humour, irreverent. His disdain for religious hypocrisy, obvious. It was these traits that would define his Hellfire Club, elevating it from a scandalous drinking society to a legend of debauchery and secrecy. In the 1740s, Dashwood established what he officially called the Order of the Friars of St. Francis of Wickham, but the public would come to know it by its more infamous moniker, the Hellfire Club. His choice of location was deliberate and provocative. The ruins of Medmenham Abbey, a once holy site, transformed into a place of pleasure and irreverence. There, Dashwood and his select circle of aristocrats and politicians would gather under the cover of night, dressed in robes like monks, engaging in excesses that were whispered about, but never confirmed. Their motto? Do what thou wilt. It was an ominous phrase, later echoed in the teachings of occultists like Aleister Crowley. But in Dashwood's day, it symbolised absolute indulgence, freedom from moral constraint, and the pursuit of pleasure without consequence. The activities of the Hellfire Club remained the subject of speculation and myth. What is known is that Dashwood's society blurred the lines between ceremony and satire, between reverence and ridicule. The members, referred to as monks, held secret meetings where mock religious rites were performed, complete with female nuns, believed to be local prostitutes, who participated in the rituals. Wine flowed freely, blasphemous hymns were sung, and toasts were raised not to God, but to figures of excess, Bacchus, Venus, and sometimes even Lucifer himself. The club's symbol, a winged demon, only fueled rumours that its members engaged in genuine satanic worship. Some claimed that the underground Hellfire Caves, which Dashwood had constructed near West Wickham, were used for more than just drunken festivities. The dimly lit tunnels, stretching deep to the chalk hills, were perfect for private ceremonies, secret initiations, and whispered conspiracies. Was it all merely a decadent game, or was there something darker at play? Even those who dismissed the tales of occultism could not deny the air of mystery and fear that surrounded the club. What made Dashwood's Hellfire Club particularly intriguing was not just its rumoured debauchery, but its membership list, a collection of some of the most powerful men in Britain. Among them were John Wilkes, the radical journalist and politician known for his inflammatory writings, the Earl of Sandwich, a high-ranking statesman rumoured to be among the most depraved members, Frederick, Prince of Wales, son of King George II, whose brief association with the club fueled speculation about royal indulgence, Benjamin Franklin, the American founding father, who visited Dashwood on multiple occasions, whether out of curiosity, amusement, or genuine interest, remains a matter of debate. Were these men simply hedonists, indulging in pleasure away from the prying eyes of the public? Or were they political power players, meeting under the cover of secrecy to discuss matters that could not be aired in Parliament? What was spoken in the candlelit tunnels of the Hellfire Caves would never leave them. The members were bound by silence, an unbreakable oath that ensured that whatever happened in the shadows would remain in the shadows. But shadows do not always keep their secrets. And as the club's reputation grew, so too did the rumours that would ultimately lead to its downfall. For a time, the Hellfire Club thrived in secrecy, its debauchery hidden behind locked doors and beneath the ground in the winding passages of the Hellfire Caves. But no society of this nature could remain untouched by scandal forever. By the late 1760s, the whispers surrounding the club had become louder. The rumours of sacrilege, seduction, and even satanic rituals had begun to reach the ears of those who would not turn a blind eye. Though much of the evidence was anecdotal, the public imagination was already inflamed. One of the most damning events came in the form of a bitter feud between John Wilkes and the Earl of Sandwich, both prominent members of the club. In 1763, Wilkes, a radical journalist and known libertine, had published a lewd and scandalous poem titled An Essay on Woman, which was seen as a blasphemous parody of An Essay on Man by Alexander Pope. The poem contained overtly sexual and sacrilegious themes, and it was alleged that some of it had been composed or recited within the Hellfire Club itself. The Earl of Sandwich, once Wilkes's associate in the club, turned against him and used the poem as a weapon to destroy his reputation. Wilkes was charged with obscenity, blasphemy, forced to flee to France in exile, and his connection to the Hellfire Club was dragged into the public eye. This very public scandal exposed what had long been whispered about in the upper echelons of British society. The Hellfire Club was no ordinary gentleman's society. It was something much darker, much more depraved. But perhaps the most dramatic claim regarding the Hellfire Club's downfall came from legend rather than recorded history. One oft-repeated tale tells of a secret ritual gone wrong, a supposed attempt to summon the devil himself. Some versions say that during one of the club's meetings in the Hellfire Caves, a mysterious apparition appeared, terrifying the members. Others claim that a mock ritual took a sinister turn, and something was unleashed that could not be controlled. While these tales may be exaggerations, they serve as a testament to the club's sinister reputation. By 1766, Sir Francis Dashwood, sensing the growing scrutiny and perhaps feeling the weight of age, began to withdraw from the club's activities. The meetings became less frequent, and the core membership began to disband. Some moved on to more discreet forms of debauchery, others distanced themselves from the club entirely, as if attempting to erase its existence from their pasts. By the 1770s, the Hellfire Club, in its grandest, most infamous form, had all but disappeared. Medmenham Abbey was abandoned, its walls left to crumble. The Hellfire Caves, once filled with laughter and blasphemous ceremony, fell silent. Though the Hellfire Club was gone, its legend endured. Stories of ghostly encounters in the Hellfire Caves, of spectral monks and whispering voices, persisted long after the last gathering had taken place. Visitors to the caves today report strange occurrences, unexplained sounds, sudden drops in temperature, and an eerie feeling of being watched. But beyond the supernatural, the spirit of the Hellfire Club seemed to live on in other secret societies. Some have speculated that its members merely scattered into different organisations, taking their taste for secrecy and excess with them. The Freemasons, the Order of the Golden Dawn, and even modern esoteric groups have been linked, however loosely, to the remnants of the Hellfire Club. The phrase Hellfire Club itself has never truly faded from public consciousness. It has appeared in literature, television, and conspiracy theories, often depicted as a shadowy cabal of elites pulling the strings behind world events. Though no evidence directly links the original club to later organisations, the myth of an elite, occult society of power and pleasure has proven far too compelling to die. Was the Hellfire Club merely an aristocratic drinking society, a fraternity of wealthy men who sought to push the limits of acceptable behaviour? Or was it something far sinister? A place where occult rituals, blasphemous ceremonies, and secret political machinations unfolded in the depths of the earth. The truth lies buried beneath layers of rumour, scandal, and secrecy. But one fact remains undeniable. The Hellfire Club has not been forgotten. Its name still sends a chill down the spine, evoking images of candlelit chambers, hooded figures, and whispered conspiracies. Perhaps that is the greatest legacy of the Hellfire Club. Not just the stories that history has recorded, but the ones that refuse to die, lurking in the shadows, waiting to be unearthed once more.